So both of you, in some ways, are getting involved in advocacy, whether it was your intended road path, or I guess for you, Atira, you didn't expect to do this, but that seems to be the route you're going down. And this conversation that we're having is largely coming from a blog that my organization posted around self-advocacy. And for when or what is perceived, I guess to say, is the line between self-advocacy and self-defiance, especially when we're talking about Black women and Black girls in the schools, and Black women, I think, as we move forward in the workforce, as you mentioned, Alicia. So I want to give some quick background on how we came up, and why we had that blog, and give some context for that. And then I would love to hear why it spoke to you, because I have to say it got a response that I don't think we anticipated or expected. It just so happens yesterday we released a report around discipline, particularly the discipline of Black girls in school. And the core, the heart of that report is that what's happening too often is Black girls, I should say students of color, girls of color in general, but especially Black girls, are getting suspended at a higher rate and arrested at a higher rate in schools. Just to do a comparison to their white peers, Black girls are 5 times as likely to be suspended and 4 times more likely to be arrested in school. And they're getting these kind of disciplinary actions because of things like being too aggressive, being too defiant, being too sassy, being too grown, all these subjective things that are often put on Black women and Black girls. And so as we were coming up with that report, as our P12 research and policy team was putting together that report with the National Women's Law Center, there was also this question of, well, how much of that is just you showing up as who you are? That you feel that because I speak a certain way or I respond a certain way, then I'm disciplined, I'm told I'm sassy, right? And so what is that? So that's one part. And then the second part is as you hear the stories of what's happening to girls in school and how they're not even allowed to be girls in school, as they're growing, then how much of, sometimes you are speaking up and you are doing your self-advocacy because you are fighting the best you can with as you're trying to figure out how to say something is wrong here, something is not working. And so it's not that I'm being defiant, it's that I'm trying to fight for myself so I can be successful and that I can have certain opportunities. And so you just recognize me as who I am. So I'm going to stop there, but I would be curious. So that gives you the context of that blog. So I would love to hear, how did it speak to you? What stood out to you? Why did it resonate? How did it resonate with you?
It did resonate with me. I mean, it's unfortunate that it had to. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily surprised by what I had read in regards to, having to advocate and just getting people to give you something as simple as a listening ear. It made me feel like, which I already knew this, but it reaffirmed like, okay, that I know I'm not the only one, who is going through this, and there is thankfully someone, an organization out there who is listening and trying to, help us figure out a way to fix this, which this is something that's going to take, I know, a long time to fix. It's not going to be a quick fix, but we need to, keep acknowledging and keep showing the numbers, as Alicia said, that there is a problem. This isn't just something that I'm just talking about because I want to. I don't want to have to fight and demand and get aggressive, but how else am I supposed to get your attention?
I wasn't surprised by that blog only because I'm probably a part of that number. I was suspended a few times in middle school and for similar reasons, right? Um, as a kid, my parents always taught me to like speak up, right? As a kid, your parents teach you to speak up. So as a kid, I would speak up a lot in class, like, and if I'm not learning, I would tell the teacher, like, hey, I'm not learning, I don't understand. And then it becomes, oh, you're a disturbance, right? And I remember spending most of my middle school in my dean's office, mainly because like I was always speaking up and always like, because in middle school my mind was to be a doctor, right? I wanted to be a doctor. I could never get science. No matter how much I tried, like it just wasn't clicking to me. And I remember getting so frustrated with the teachers. And I remember getting in trouble because I'm being disrespectful, I'm talking too loud, right? I'm expressing, like right now, I'm expressing myself and I'm looking aggressive because I'm using my hands when I'm speaking. And the teacher would see it one way and I would just get sent to the dean and my parents would be called and I would have to go through a whole explanation to my parents again about like why I was even in that situation. So I think the blog itself resonated with me because I am that girl, right? I am that girl who went through those similar situations, and some people just don't understand that people express themselves in different ways. Like I'm not gonna sit and be quiet. Like I express myself this way because that's the way I was brought up.
When you look under the numbers, we know what the numbers are for Black students, but even when you look under those numbers, what was happening is often we weren't talking about what was happening to Black girls. And one reason why is because even though we definitely have Black girls who are getting out of school suspensions and the rest, the numbers that I gave early in our conversation, we also know that that just doesn't get the same kind of attention, and the numbers might not be quite as high, you know, and so no one's paying attention. But if you see it over and over and over and over again, then it becomes a systemic issue. And then one more thing I'll say is that the how you experience bias in racism is different as a Black woman than it is, or Black girl than it is a Black boy. It's the same problem, but it's experience and looks different. So this is when you looked at the data and looked at why were Black girls being suspended, that you see things like aggressive. Well, the aggressive looks different for Black boys perhaps than it looks for Black girls. So really trying to figure out those subjective words we use. What does that mean and what are you saying, and how are you defining that? We start asking those kind of questions. How do you define aggressive? How do you define disruptive? You know.